Okay, we'll get started here. Thanks for joining, everybody. Today we're going to talk about how to create branded documents using Confluence Cloud and how you can enable just about anyone in your organization to create great-looking branded documents. This session is brought to you by Avant Systems Group in collaboration with K15T. We'll start with a quick agenda. First, we'll introduce ourselves and Avant, tell you a little bit about what we do. Then we'll jump into the kinds of problems and the solution that we have today that aims to solve and the parts that you would need to solve them. After that, we'll jump into a short demo of the solution, showing off a few of our own use cases and how easy it is for users to create perfectly formatted documents once this solution is in place. And finally, we'll get to how you can approach implementing this solution for your own organization to leverage the benefits of simplified document branding before we take some time for a short Q&A session. If you have questions throughout the session today, feel free to post them in the chat or the Q&A, and we'll look at addressing them after the presentation. A little about myself. My name is Adam Rothenberger, Marketing Manager at Avant Systems Group, and your presenter for this morning. I've worked in various marketing roles throughout my career, notably in the graphic design, branding, and digital advertising spaces. Over the past year working with Avant, I've obtained a number of Atlassian accreditations, including Atlassian Marketing Professional and Cloud Technical Sales Professional from the Atlassian Enablement Academy. I'm also an avid guitar player, one of many at Avant at this point, with a substantial collection of them to my name. Avant Systems Group is an innovative IT consulting company specializing in Atlassian products. Our team spans coast to coast here in Canada with employees in 6 different provinces. Our expertise comes from nearly 30 years of software development and consulting, the last 10 or so of which have been near exclusively in the Atlassian space. We're passionate about software development tools, processes, and sharing that expertise with our clients to drive their success. As a Platinum Atlassian solution partner, our people have extensive experience working with, implementing, and supporting Atlassian products for a broad range of customers across a wide range of industries. Avant consists, like I said, of a highly trained group of people who are committed to providing a full range of Atlassian support services, including license management, application admin, migration support, managed hosting, custom add-on development, and agile training and coaching. We work to distinguish ourselves by providing services and expertise in licensing, setup and configuration of Atlassian products, product migrations, post-purchase support, and custom configurations for products in the Atlassian ecosystem. If you're working with or interested in working with Atlassian tools in your organization, I would encourage you to reach out to us for partner purchasing advantages and a single point of contact for Atlassian product support. The products we promote, of course, come from Atlassian. We deploy Atlassian products like Jira, Confluence, and Bitbucket for organizations to provide solutions in several different areas like those you can see here. Just to name a few: ITSM and asset management, procurement, QA, software development, facilities, collaboration, documents, much of which we're going to talk about at today's session, enterprise service management, DevOps, project and portfolio management, just to name a few. So now that you know who we are, let's get into today's topic and start by going over some of the problems we aim to solve for ourselves and also for other organizations that struggle with keeping public-facing documents on brand and looking consistent. So we can start by imagining a company where documents of all sorts are being developed using a typical word processing program. This could be everything from sales proposals to quotes, order confirmations, letters, employee hiring documents, contracts, etc. The company logo and branding need to be on all of that, of course, and it would be nice if brand fonts and other identity-specific formatting could be applied too. So as you might already know, there are some challenges involved with making that happen consistently, since not everyone in your organization is a Microsoft Word guru, or maybe they're not paying particular attention to what's in your brand book. It gets even tougher to implement branded documents when you're collaborating with other people across different application versions, different operating systems. Document formatting seems to suffer when this kind of thing is going on. So things wind up getting messy in a big hurry from a brand compliance perspective. Even if you've got things like Microsoft Word templates built out, branded documents often have to make their way through someone in marketing to correct formatting, fonts, colors, layouts before an item can actually go out the door. This work is repetitive and it's time consuming for the people doing it, where they could be adding value elsewhere. So if this state of affairs seems familiar, you're probably not alone. Plenty of companies employ marketing staff that spend a large amount of time polishing up document formatting and making sure public-facing items are following brand standards. In small to medium-sized businesses, your capacity for this could be pretty limited. This was the case for us at Avant not all that long ago, which set us out to look for the solution we'll show you today. The problem that with collaboration was an easy one. We were already using Atlassian Confluence to write and store a lot of different kinds of documentation, which is great on its own for that kind of collaborative work. Up to 12 people at a time can work in the same document from anywhere, and changes can be easily tracked. When the writing was done, a final result of a document made in Confluence would generally get copied into a Word document to have the right formatting and branding applied, and then saved as a PDF for delivery. This would come with the formatting challenges that would need to be solved every time a proposal got built, taking more time than what should have been necessary. So we thought there had to be a better way to do this. We started looking into setting up Confluence to apply some formatting rules by default. CSS styling supported here, but it wouldn't go far enough to, for example, add a branded footer selectively on some sections of a document, or include boilerplate pages that would be in certain kinds of documents, or even standard things like adding a title page. So at the end of the day, this wasn't going to be an approach that would solve more problems, that would create. The solution to all of those things wound up coming from the combined use of Confluence, Confluence's built-in page template capability, and a couple of marketplace apps, namely the Scroll PDF Exporter by K15T and its companion app, Scroll Exporter Extensions. These core components, after some setup, allow our team members to build beautiful documents that are always perfectly on brand for just about every common use case our organization has. So to talk a little more about that, the Confluence Scroll PDF Exporter allows you to set up export templates for common formatting use cases, essentially allowing marketing teams to define rules and provide pre-built content to include in documents at the time that they're exported from Confluence. So people from any department and at any level of word processing app proficiency can create a document and have the result formatted almost perfectly without having to worry about things like fonts, colors, spacing, footers, or title pages. To go a little bit further and illustrate the point, let's do a quick comparison here between what you get from the native PDF exporter and what you get from the same document and an export template that we've set up for cloud migration proposals in our Scroll PDF exporter app. So what we're looking at here is a cloud migration proposal document that some of our consultants would typically put together. Looks okay. Pretty basic, doesn't really contain any of our big purple formatting or branding or any personality to really distinguish itself. There's nothing about our company included in this proposal either, and it doesn't even have a title page or page footers. If we export that same page from Confluence using our Scroll PDF exporter app and a template that we've created, we'll find a number of things have changed. So first of all, there's a title page now. Title that shows here is the title of the Confluence page, and the exporter has applied it to some artwork that we set up in our export template for cloud migration proposals. We can also see a table of contents, which is generated using the headings found on the Confluence page and according to the styling parameters we specified in the export template. Also part of the export template is a page containing general introduction to our company and the kinds of work that we do for clients, which is nice to have whenever a sales proposal is going out. And then you get the content of the Confluence page itself. But even this has some changes applied to it. The entire document is now rendered using our brand font, and page footers exist on each page that the Confluence content winds up needing. And finally, additional pages containing information specific to cloud migration proposals are included in the export template, offering better context for the proposal and some additional sales examples and work that we've done toward the end. For the person who's already, who's writing the proposal, there's almost no difference in how much work was involved for them. Since all the formatting rules and extra components for this type of document, they've already been set up. The whole proposal looks great, and it didn't need any extra effort from the user that wrote it to get it out the door. So now that we know that we can enable just about anyone using Confluence to create great looking branded content, let's look a little harder at what's involved in making it happen. There are a few prerequisites to setting this up. For users, they only need to do a handful of things differently than they might be doing now. The biggest thing for users is to get in the habit of creating all documents in Confluence if you're not doing that already, instead of relying on a more typical word processing app. Confluence is really the secret sauce to making the idea of branded everything happen more easily, and it has a lot of capability to manage the way the different kinds of documents are organized and stored. So if you ever needed to refer back to something, it's never going to be misplaced, and the most current version is always present, can be made available to view and edit to anyone that's necessary. The only other thing users really need to make sure of is that they're using proper heading hierarchy when laying out their documents. Confluence makes this really easy to do, as you can see in the example here. When documents are exported using the app, heading and paragraph styling can be set up to use your brand fonts, weights, colors, line spacing. Headings are also used to populate your document's table of contents if it needs one. On the administration side of this, things are initially a little bit more complicated, but the end result can save marketing and brand managers a lot of time in the long run. The first thing you'll need is access to your Confluence administration or your administrator to purchase and install the Scroll PDF exporter by K15T and its companion app, Scroll Exporter Extensions. Then you need to configure the desired templates within that app to match your company branding for desired use cases. You're also going to need a copy of your brand's font files to upload to the app so the app can make use of them. And finally, you'll probably want to have your graphic designer on hand to create the graphic elements that need to be included in your templates. So the app supports JPEGs and PNGs for background images, title pages, footers, etc. But if you really want the best quality, I found it's best to create your elements using vector SVG format wherever possible. SVGs will generally keep your PDF file size light, which is best if you have to send documents via email. And your graphics won't suffer any pixelation this way either if they're looked at up close. So at this point, we have seen some of what this solution can do, and we've got all the required parts in place. So now let's see how it all comes together with a quick demo showing off some of our own use cases. So this is a Confluence instance where I've already got the Scroll PDF Exporter app installed. I'll head to the Confluence administration panel, and I'll scroll down to find the Scroll PDF Exporter templates section all the way at the bottom. And once I'm there, I can see the default templates that the exporter comes with, but I'd prefer to make my own template that will use my company's branded fonts and logos and colors. So to do that, I'll use the New button. And on the template screen, I'll pick a name for my template. We'll just call this letterhead. And because this template is just for writing letters, I'll delete the document sections over on the left here for the title page and the table of contents, as our letters don't typically need those kinds of things. So the content section here is where your Confluence page content is loaded into. On the content section, I only want my mailing address to show up in the top corner of the first page. So I can tell the template to use a different first page with the 3-dot button here. Now I can select to format the first page of my Confluence content differently from subsequent pages if my letter becomes long enough to need them. When you make a new template, they're laid out with a few smart fields by default. Since we're just making a letterhead template, we can delete these. That just adds the space name, and that would add a document title for the page that makes use of this. In the header section at the top of the page, I'll add my company's address just as it would go on the top of any letterhead. My template isn't using the font my company's brand standard prefers, so I'm going to jump into the style section at the top left so that I can specify them. You can format different aspects of a document here. Since we don't have a table of contents in our letterhead template, we won't worry about how this looks for now. I'll click on paragraph styles, where the text content of Confluence pages exported using this template will be formatted. Right now, paragraph text is using the Source Sans Pro font, but I want to use our brand font instead. So if it's not in this list, you can scroll all the way up and upload custom fonts at the top with the Manage Fonts button here. Once I've uploaded my brand fonts, we can see the preview text has changed to use it. This looks a little small, so I'm going to bump the font size up to 12 point and justify the text to fill the space. I'm also going to have to specify some heading styles while I'm here, so I'll click on heading 1 toward the left and set this to my brand font in bold. I'd also like the headings to have our brand color applied, so we'll do that here too. In the section settings, if I select Don't Break on the page break before paragraph setting. This option lets you force a page break if a new heading 1 exists, so each section of your document can start on a fresh page. This isn't something that we want to use in a simple letter, so we're going to set it to don't break. I'll do the same kind of thing for H2 and H3. For larger document templates, we might have to specify the remaining headings, but we won't worry about that for our letter template here. So now we'll go back to our document sections, and we can see on the first page here that our brand font hasn't been applied. And the reason is this section of text isn't using paragraph type styling. Instead, it's using another option called small text up here. So we'll change this to use paragraph styling and see that our brand font is now applied. Because we specified a justify text on the paragraph styling, our text moved to the left of the page. So we can override this back to the right with the align right button. I'm also going to increase the height of the header section to about 24, just to give the header a little bit of breathing room on the page. So the next thing our letterhead template needs is a page footer with our logo on it. We can remove the smart values that are included here too, because we won't be needing them. Because we need a graphic in this section, it's probably easiest to leverage the background feature here, which will let you upload a JPEG, PNG, or a vector SVG, as I mentioned before. Now I'm a graphic designer, so I put together an SVG at the right size to upload. And once it's in here up at the top, I'll set the position to bottom left and make the width about 216 millimeters. That is the perfect width for a standard 8.5 by 11 piece of paper or a normal size document. Now that that's in place and looking good, I'll want to modify the size settings of the footer bounding box so that my Confluence page content can't run over it. I'll set the footer height to about 20 millimeters and leave the top and bottom margins as they are. I'm also going to get rid of the after body section here, which is included by default since we don't need it here. I'm just going to click the X to get rid of that, and that'll let our Confluence page content use the entire page except for the space that's blocked off by the header at the top and our footer. Our first page is now looking pretty much how we want, but we also need to set up styling for subsequent pages in case the letters our users are writing should need them. I'm going to do this by clicking all other pages and basically setting everything the same way as what we did on our first page, just without the mailing address at the top. I'm also going to remove the header section completely so that our Confluence page content can actually make use of that space. So now that my letterhead template is complete, I can click the Save button and close to get back into Confluence itself. Once saved, our letterhead template is now available to anyone to use. So let's try it out and see how it looks as if we were a user. From the user perspective, it's pretty much business as usual using Confluence. So I'll create a new page in the space that I've picked here. And I'll write a letter pretty much just as I would on any word processing program. I want to use some headings in my letter to break up the information, so we'll specify these here. When I'm done writing, I can publish the page, just as I would with any Confluence page. Now to apply the template that I just created, I'll click the three-dot menu up in the top right and select Export all the way at the bottom with Scroll PDF Exporter. In the window that comes up, I'll select my new letterhead template, which is the only one here. Then I'll hit the Show Details button, which provides a few extra options for inclusion when your template is exported. We can optionally have, for example, the exporter number our headings for us, which is helpful for things like contracts, but this is a simple letter, so we're just going to turn that off. Finally, we'll just hit the Export button, and in a few moments, the Confluence page that we just wrote with the branding that we applied through the template will be downloaded to our computer. Let's take a look and see how it turned out. Straight away, we've got our brand font applied with our mailing address on the first page. We can see that our heading fonts and colors are also applied and look great. And our footer looks great here too. Our letter was long enough to make the document into 2 pages, so we can see what this second page looks like. It also has our footer applied, but it doesn't have the mailing address included like it does on page 1, which is exactly what we wanted. Altogether, it looks like this template worked to achieve the branded look that we were going for. Hopefully this demo has provided some insight on what it takes to set up the Confluence Scroll app to apply branding rules to your public-facing documents straight out of Confluence, and hopefully it shows how easy it is for an average user to make use of them. One of the things that our letterhead example didn't highlight was the Smart Fields options that your export templates can take advantage of. So let's look at another more complex template that makes use of these, and some of the other features the app has to make more complex documents look great and save time. Back in the template section of the app, I've put together another template that has a lot more in it. To start, we have a title page, which uses some artwork as the background image, and a smart value here that will add the name of whatever the Confluence page title is. This gets styled in the style section as a special style that's meant to allow title page styling that's maybe a little different from other areas of your document. Looking at the document sections, there are quite a few more here set up than in our last example, so let's go through what these do. After the title page, we have a table of contents that populates with heading 1 and heading 2s that exist in a Confluence page when it's exported. We can decide how the text in the table of contents is styled in the styles section, so they always come out looking the way that we want. The next section that I've got here is what we call a boilerplate page, something that'll be common to every proposal of this type and included within the PDF that gets exported out on a page before your Confluence page content. I included artwork here as a vector SVG that was made using graphic design tools. Designing these boilerplate pages is where your graphic designer would be needed most. The content section is where your Confluence page will be injected into the document using the styles we've specified in the styles section, as we saw earlier. In this case, we've just set up the Confluence pages, content pages to show a footer and use the page for Confluence content otherwise. The remaining sections after this are all boilerplate pages I've included to provide additional context and information and a call to action so that our users don't have to remember to include this information every time that somebody writes a proposal. So let's use this template to export a proposal and see how it looks. As a user, I've already written a sales proposal in Confluence, and I know that most of the formatting will be applied on export for me. So let's run that export now. The PDF looks pretty good. We'll notice that the title was injected into the smart value provided in the template, and the table of contents has been populated with our headings. I'm noticing one section that breaks to a new page in kind of an awkward place. I'd like to break it before that to keep that section together on a page. To do that, I'll use a macro provided by another K15T app called Scroll Exporter Extensions. This app is free in cloud and provides additional macros that you can use within your Confluence content to provide finer control over how your content is laid out. So once I've got that in place, I can publish the page again and then export once again. On this new PDF, we can see that the table is now starting on the one page and the page break has taken effect to push it down. The last thing I'd like to show off today is how you can leverage Confluence layout templates in conjunction with Scroll PDF export templates to quickly create some other common documents that make use of your branding. For this example, I'm going to use the idea of a sales quote. We're using Confluence at present to create and store the sales quotes that we make for clients. When we need to make a new quote, we'll start by making a new page like I just did, and then assigning our quote template to it from the Confluence template library that I've got here. And this is a pretty simple template. It's just a few placeholder fields that users can fill in to see that the right information is present. So we'll put some example data in for show. One thing that's interesting to note is that this template comes loaded with a scroll page break macro. And this can be used in Confluence templates the same way that any other Confluence macro can to help you arrange your document the way that you want, and every time too, because it's a template, so whoever loads a template in will have this already kind of in place for themselves. So now that we've got all our data in place, we can hit the publish button and commit this to a page. And there it is. It doesn't look incredible in Confluence itself, but that's okay because we're going to export it using the scroll PDF exporter. And we're going to use a template called Avant Quotes that I put together earlier. So we'll just hit the export button and get that downloading. And here's how it all looks once it's exported. As you can see, we've added some background graphics here for our logo. We're a Platinum Solution Partner. This is a license quote. This is all part of the vector SVG that's in the background. And the footer and the phone number and email address here are also in the background, all on a single SVG file. And then the Confluence information itself is present here, styled using our brand font. It's also using a little bit of styling on the table itself to kind of clean this up and make it look a little bit nicer than it did. Our scroll page break macro has taken effect to put the quote conditions here on page 2, and the signature fields are all here and present as well, also using our brand fonts. So altogether, it doesn't really take more than about a minute to put one of these quotes together, assuming we have all the information, and to have it look great using the exporter. So that's the demo for today. What I'm hoping everyone can take away from this is how easy it can be from a general user perspective to have all their public-facing documents looking on brand by using this solution. It's a bit of work between Confluence admins and your marketing department and branding managers initially, but the results wind up saving a lot of time in terms of policing brand compliance, and also for users who might not possess the acumen or have the time needed to apply company branding to something before it goes out the door to a customer. From my own experience using this solution, I have to do very little in terms of worrying about how a proposal document might look from our consultants. The templates are simple for them to use, and they always come out looking consistent. So as you can see, we make pretty extensive use of this solution at Avant to streamline a number of processes that can benefit from a branded look. I'm sure everyone here is now wondering how you can get this implemented for your organization. There are really two options for getting this kind of thing in place. The first one is simply to tackle this yourself with your internal resources. If you have staff that are able to assemble the prerequisites and set it all up, that could be your best bet for achieving this. If you'd like to show them this presentation, we'll be sending out the link to the recording in the next day or so to all registrants. Otherwise, if you'd prefer to get some assistance, our consultants at Avant are more than happy to help get this solution into place, including the purchase and setup of Confluence if you don't already have it, the setup of apps on your instance, custom Confluence templates, and the export templates for the cases you'd like to make available to your staff. Avant is a Platinum Solution Partner to Atlassian, like I mentioned before, with expertise on Confluence configuration and just about everything else in the Atlassian product ecosystem. We'd love to talk to anyone using Atlassian products to provide assistance with configuration work, and also to provide product licensing advantages that come with purchasing Atlassian products through a partner like us. So now we've got a little bit of time for a quick Q&A session. I'm going to jump into the chat here and see about some questions. First question, does the exporter take away all the formatting that's already been done within a Confluence page? Yeah, so the answer to this is actually no, it doesn't. If you were to say, put some text in bold or change the color of a title heading to your Confluence page or something like that, the exporter might change the font that's being used if that's been specified, but it'll honor the other properties that you set manually. So it gives users the freedom to kind of manipulate things to that general extent. We've actually run into sort of a minor issue on this, where if you're copying something into a Confluence page from another source, like a Word document, some invisible formatting attributes can get copied in with it and cause the exporter to behave a little bit unexpectedly. The remedy is easy. All you need to do really is select your copied text once it's in Confluence and clear the formatting off of it. Next question here. If I need a new template as a user, who needs to make it? Yeah, so the building the export templates that you need for different use cases, like I said, is going to require a bit of collaboration between a Confluence admin and your marketing and brand managers. If that's not the same person, most of the legwork can be laid out in graphic design tools before you even really get a Confluence admin involved. Ideally, you can have a designer get access to the Scroll PDF exporter app to lay everything out kind of perfectly. If you've got basic export templates set up with your brand fonts, you can usually start by making a copy of that to take care of any basic text styling, and then build out more complex templates for that. The real point is that this situation only really needs to happen a handful of times to cover off your most common use cases. Uh, Hopefully that answers that question. Next question. Can you set up some templates as space specific? Oh, yeah. The answer to that one is yes. You definitely can define which templates are available to which spaces within the app if you wanted to restrict certain user groups from using certain templates, or have them use something specific, or if you just want to help different user groups to see only the things that apply to them for the sake of ease of use. And it looks like we don't have any other questions. I'll give this maybe one more second here or two. Okay, I think that may be it. Yeah, okay. That concludes our session for today. Of course, if anyone has other questions or you'd like to talk about getting our solution put together for your organization, please reach out to us on our website at avant.ca, or by phone or by email. Thanks for joining us, everyone. I hope you have a very happy holidays, and we will see you in the new year.